talk about things that annoy me, and just talk a bit about, people who get done over when they have a run-in with the law. And I don't mean, they're criminals or they get charged with speeding fines or something. I mean, everyday normal people who go about their day, go about their own business, get into a contract of some kind and it bites them in the bum. And, sometimes these things will involve $10,000, $20,000, and sometimes they involve millions. And these people aren't necessarily law savvy, and they don't have friends who are lawyers who can explain the law to them. So they're my people, because that's what I was. I was someone who was done over by a bank, and we lost everything and had to restart. And from that, I studied law, became a lawyer for about 5 minutes, still trying to get something happening there. But that's another story. But I have learned a lot about the law, and I now understand how we got done over when we shouldn't have been. We should have won. We had all of the evidence. We could show everything, and we still lost. There's a few lessons that I've learned, which is why I do this. I stopped doing it for the longest time. That's because as a lawyer I have responsibilities to the legal profession. The Legal Practice Board is quite strict about what lawyers can and can't do. You're not allowed to, tell the world that lawyers are really bad. Even though you have the evidence that some of them are. It's funny that, proving that a lawyer's done you over is a pretty hard gig. So I'm still deciding what to do about my practicing certificate. I should really, do something with it, as in, maybe stay on the roll of practitioners. If I let it go, then I have to go through all that again. But if I keep it up, then that's a great big cost. And unless I have a job, there's not much point to it. I've got 17 days to decide what I want to do about it, whether I want to let it go and just concentrate on this and actually, getting the book published and written the way that I want it written. We can't really the way that I want to write the book, it's a bit more controversial, because I don't accept that all lawyers do the right thing. They don't. I cannot toe the company line on that. I have seen some lawyers in action. I know what happened with us. I've spoken to so many people in our position, and I've seen what their lawyers have done, and all I can do is say, oh my God, what? It's that's kind of my position where I'm coming from. Anyway, none of what I ever say on here can in the least bit be construed legal advice, as you can tell by my moniker, Bank Slayer, and I am Bank Slayer. It's not really a professional blog. It's not a professional vlog or in any way intended to be about, I'm a lawyer, hear me roar. It's not. It's just me venting and me trying to give some ideas to people who either have to self-represent, or they don't know what to look out for when they're dealing with a lawyer, or how to save costs when they deal with a lawyer, because costs are a pretty big thing. Anyway, I've got my game on beside me. I'm stuck here behind me, and you can't really see it, but there's a chat function, so I'm actually talking to people in my guild. I finally joined a guild on the test server, so it's all new. It's all different people. It's fun. Sometimes it's fun to start again. The time it's not fun to start again, when somebody has totally, utterly destroyed your life, taken all your assets and thrown you back onto the heap so that you're the equivalent of, a kitty pink walking out of high school, starting again from scratch. That's not nice. We were lucky because my husband was working and never stopped working throughout the whole ordeal. But many other people they're thrown on the scrap heap and it's not nice. But starting again from scratch, that's nice because this time it's kind of making me think about how I should be organising my game proper. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to this particular test soil when they change everything over. Who knows? So as you can tell, tonight I'm all ready for bed because other people have a life. Me, it's 5:35 in the evening. I've had my bath and I'm good to go to bed when the time is right. I'm just gonna, hang out Friday night and we don't do anything. Football's on, so the husband's watching the football. That's good. He's got the puppy. He's in charge. I've got the wine. There you go. I can celebrate. I can celebrate having survived another day. And, sometimes that's the best that you can do. When we were going through this, we ended up with a ritual. And probably the reason why I drink so much wine is from that ritual. I'll tell you what it is when I've had a schluck. So what happens with this ritual that we do? We don't need to do it anymore, but we used to always do it. We used to crack open a bottle of the Cutlenberger strawberry champagne or strawberry sparkling wine because you're not allowed to call it champagne. But it's the strawberry wine. It's really nice. We would crack that open to celebrate another crappy day. Because, if we couldn't celebrate the crap days, then we would never ever celebrate again because we didn't have good days. There were no good days. For 2.5 years, we did not have a good day. They were all shit. So we used to celebrate the crap days. It was like, let's just do this. You kind of find your own way of dealing with this stuff. We fell into that for quite a while. I was a bit worried about my liver because, I did kind of overindulge. I still overindulge, but not in the wine. It's usually the chocolate. Look, I've got chocolates here as well, but I probably won't eat them. Surprisingly, these chocolates have survived a few days. That's unusual around here. I keep threatening to go on a diet, but no willpower for that. I can put my mind to finishing things. I can put my mind to, I'm going to read now and I'm going to read until I've done this and then I'm going to get on with it. And I can do that. Dieting, no, can't do that. But I guess I'm going to have to bite the bullet sooner or later. Today's not the day. So what I've done, and let me just sort of look around here. Sorry about that. I'm just checking on the other screen what's going on. There's weird things happening all the time around here. You might be able to hear the puppy. He's not really being bad. So I'm going to slip this over my game so that you can see what I was going to rant about. So because I'm trying to get back into the routine of looking at this stuff, I might have to minimise that a little bit so that you can actually see it over my game and over my face on the side. So what I thought I'd do is I thought that I would look at what's the banking news. There's lots of different sources you can have for that, and I thought I'm just going to see what news.com.au is saying about the banks now. All of the news reporting about banks really drives me nuts because it's one-sided. It's all like, it's more of a sell on how good the banks are than anything to do with reality. They don't really do much, in my humble opinion, having watched it for years. Although at one stage, during the Royal Commission and just after, a lot of reporters were having a grand old time, rubbishing the banks with, their blatant lies, pulling them to task for that. But there's not much really happening. So this refinancing one, explained in 72 seconds. Okay, so if you go to that, it's actually an article that was created in sponsorship with Westpac. So Westpac is pretty much explaining what refinancing is. And the article is all of 3 paragraphs long. Doesn't really tell you much. One of the things that bothers me about refinancing, there's never one thing that bothers me with banks. With banks, there's a lot that bothers me. So, yeah, back on my high horse, I am. So what really bothers me with the banks is they're really no different. If you threw all of the banks into a bag, or put every CEO from every bank into a bag and belt the crap out of it with a 4x2, you will always hit the right one. Am I cynical? Yeah, absolutely. But it comes from watching them blatantly lie and obfuscate and bullshit to Senate inquiries, to the Royal Commission, to everything, to say, oh no, this is us being good boys and girls. We're really good. No, they're not. I have zero respect for any CEO involved in banking. Like, if you're a bank CEO, you're another C. Just personal opinion. But, I can't work for that one. I paid a high price for that opinion. It comes from years of being absolutely shocked by what the banks do now. Nothing the banks do shocks me anymore. If we were now told that, banksters have a get-together every year and they roast babies on a spit, would not surprise me. And I'm talking human babies, I'm not talking piglets that, may or may not be your cup of tea. But, if we were told, they drink the blood of human infants, wouldn't surprise me. They're all bastards. Am I cynical? Nah, I think I'm more realistic. And I think realistically, when you think about how people are taught commerce, when you send your kid to uni and they do a commerce degree, the first thing they're taught is that your customer isn't a human being, they're a number. And they're either, they fit on one side of the ledger only. If they sit on the profit side, good, keep them. If they sit on the loss side, get rid of them. And the loss might not be much of a loss. It's just, if they're not making you money, get rid of them. Gee, I behaved myself then. I was going to use a different word then. Still trying to behave myself a little bit. No, I haven't even really had any wine yet. But anyway, so I'm a little bit cynical about this one because if you're going to refinance, you can still get yourself in trouble because your new bank will have lots of hidden things that entice you to come over and then they screw you over. Case in point, let me just do a quick Google. Nah. It's gone. Oh, look. I've had another story. How about we stop that, eh? So, this one was posted on the 12th, so only a couple of days ago. So the nation's biggest bank has reported an earnings surge. This isn't 2.4 billion for the year. That's not what it is. Okay. It's third quarter trading update. So, and they're all whinging about COVID costing them money, but how do banks make money? And how do they make 2.4 billion of profit? It's a cute thing. What they do is really, really horrible. I will start talking about it, but not today. This story triggers me every time because all the banks come out every quarter and they all say, we've only got this much profit, and we're talking billions. And it's like, yeah. I mean, is it this one I'm looking for? Yeah. So, ANZ. Now, they're warning about this hit that they're going to have. Let me just pause this. I hate the way that auto plays, and I've changed the settings and it still doesn't. But they're talking about, we're going to have this massive hit. And then you scroll down to sort of say, what's this about? And it's the write-downs, And there's something else to this story. I swear to God there is. This was on the 30th of April. So this is, just before they announced their profit for the quarter. But it's like, really? Seriously? I mean, I don't understand this massive finance. I'm not a blue chip commercial finance guru. But I read a story like this and I'm thinking, well, what the hell else is going on? There's certainly more to it than that. Relating to the impairment of the Malaysian bank's value of its goodwill. Oh dear. So, how much of their profit is actual profit and how much of it is, just God knows what. It really makes you wonder. Oh, look. Let's see this. See? Everyone's talking about, one of the ways that banks keep making profit, and it was in the movie The Bank. If you want to watch a fun movie where the bank gets its comeuppance, watch The Bank. Anthony LaPaglia in one of the roles. He's the bank CEO, and at the time that it was made, people were talking that it was about the Commonwealth Bank, which, fun times. But what this guy does through the movie in getting the bank back on track, it's about what the CEOs do all the time around here now. We need to increase profits, so let's close all the bloody bank branches. And it's this, you can only close so many branches before it's done. It's a done deal. Nobody wants to deal with you anymore. And everyone who says, just do online banking. Well, that's all fine and good, but online banking doesn't really solve your problems. If you need to talk to the bank, you want to go into the bank and talk to a real person. And you know what? I'm tired of having to talk to someone over the phone where I don't know where they are. I don't know if I've got the right person. I'm probably, got too vivid an imagination, but I have trust issues. And if I can walk into a bank and talk to a real person, that's my preference. And you know what? How about we give real people a job as well? Just stop farming out our jobs overseas. Can we just stop doing that? And the banks keep doing it. I did say it was the Friday night rant, and I don't have a life, so I get to do it. But yeah, all of the banks always close their branches, and it really shits me. Everybody keeps, we need to make more money for the shareholders, so we're going to sack everyone. Like, really? How many people do you reckon you can sack before you don't have a business anymore? It's like Coles and Woolies and all the other major chain stores that say, we're going to sack all these people. We're just going to have, we're going to have serve yourself registers. People can check themselves out. And then they complain about, people stealing too much. Gotcha. But when you employ people, even the checkout chicks, you get loyalty from them. Their families will shop there. And, they shop there. And if you keep sacking people and you keep replacing people with machines who don't sleep, who don't eat, who don't have families, who don't have a mortgage to pay, yeah, you're saving costs. But who can afford to buy your shit? I mean, seriously, people. You really think that when you have everything automated and it's just you and the board making a mozza in income, that anyone's going to buy your shit? It's like, well, no. When nobody's earning any money, where's it all going to come from? Where's your customer base? I mean, there's no such thing as loyalty anymore, is there? I mean, no one seems to be loyal to families. No one seems to be loyal to friends. There's no marital loyalty around. I mean, it's everybody I know is still, I think one of my friends is divorced. All the others are still with their original partners. It's, it's just really weird. When you talk to other people and, they're all on exes and, it's just weird. Maybe I move in the wrong circles these days. Anyway, let's find another story that was in the news that sort of almost triggered me, but not really. Good old ASIC takes Westpac to court over alleged insider trading. Now, that one was published on May the 5th. And guess what year it was? 2016. And they have known about it since the outset, because I remember reading about that when the story first broke. It's taken ASIC 5 years to get off its arse and actually launch the court action. ASIC took a bit of a beating at one of the Senate inquiries where everyone said ASIC's just useless, get rid of them. I mean, it's true. ASIC has been giving the banks a great big pass for a long time. But yeah, if you want to have a read of that, you can go to the ASIC website and download the documents. Might do that one day over the weekend, just for the fun of it. Here's more things being bought out. Oh, boring. So, did you know that UBank is a National Australia Bank subsidiary? You probably did. And yeah, UBank can now take over another bank. So they call them a neobank. I always fancied starting my own bank. But, they can now take over this other bank, and it's to boost the digital capacities of UBank and scale of its customer base. I remember when I did my graduate certificate in commercial litigation, we did a case where, we followed the contract and the business, and you were the lawyer for the different side throughout this, just so that you would look at both sides of the argument. And it was about, we need to develop all of these systems so that we can scale up our business, and as our business grows, this system will grow with us. And that's what this looks like to me. It's just rather than actually doing the work and buying the infrastructure and installing the infrastructure for what they need, they're just acquiring somebody else who's actually done the hard work. I personally don't see this working out really well for customers. It never does. It never ends well for customers. One of the cynical reasons why I'd like to start a bank is because, that way I get the benefit. Yeah, it's all pretty horrible. Never mind. So, see, I have been reading these. Okay. So, they're talking about, our interest rates are going up, and NAB and the Macquarie Bank have already done it. Not really surprising. There's not a surprise in there at all. But our interest rates are like 2.19% on fixed rate interest loans. I couldn't ever see that surviving as long as it did. I was quite surprised. And you could kind of see it coming. But house prices are so phenomenally high. I think as they're going to creep up, I think a lot of people will be in mortgage stress. I think they will succumb. Because it's just, house prices are so massively high. If you're looking at an average home being $550,000 in the country, where jobs are relatively low paying, we're not talking, country where, they've got a great big ass mine there with, and they're happy for you to live in a country town and earn big money. When you're looking at top wages being about $80,000, $90,000 a year, it's really hard to buy a $550,000 house. It's, how are you going to do that, especially if you've got two kids, one income, and costs are so freaking high. I don't know how people do it. I really don't. It just befuddles me how people manage. And once interest rates start going up, we'll see people go into mortgage stress. And if you followed anything about the budget, and I have not paid much attention to the budget at all because I find it all really depressing, because I'm not a fan of our Treasurer. I'm not a fan of our Prime Minister. I think there's a very it's not a nice term that I use in reference to each of them. Starts with the letter C and finishes with the word womble. I'm not a fan of them. But, so what they did is they brought out a single parent home scheme so that single parents could actually buy their home. And I remember back in the late 1990s, early 2000s, the government was encouraging single parents to buy the home that they were renting, or, they would help them into a house. But back then, a house was about $80,000, and you could actually buy the house if you were on Centrelink payments. They weren't Centrelink back then. I don't think that was called something else. Might already have been Centrelink. Long time ago. But they would encourage single parents to buy the house, or to buy a cheap house, and they would help them and give them a few subsidies. It wasn't much, but people would own their own home, and that was great. But, so, the budget unveiled scheme allowing single parents to buy a home with as little as a 2% deposit. And yeah, it's not going to work. So that was today. So the inflated property prices, definitely inflated, and they've set a cap on it. Just means that they won't be able to get into it. See, home loan experts have dubbed the scheme unrealistic, while the federal opposition say it will only assist a fraction of single-parent families. When I heard about it and sort of looked into it, I'm there, this is just a feel-good exercise. This is so that everybody can think, oh, look, the government cares. No, the government doesn't care. They don't give a damn about anybody. I mean, they say the cap is $700,000 for existing dwellings. So in the city it won't work. Sydney definitely won't work. I think it won't help around here either, because house prices are being pushed up so high. Our house dropped about $60,000 2 years ago, 18 months ago. Wasn't that long ago. And we couldn't believe it. Like, how on earth did house prices drop by that much? And now, way back up there. We can get more for our house now than what we paid for it. And the reason is because all the mines said, oh, look, we're not going to let you fly in from the eastern states anymore. You've got to live in Western Australia if you're going to work in a West Australian mine, fly in, fly out. And people looked at it, and Perth house prices and north of Perth are really, really high. Mandurah, you get a really nice house and probably save $200,000 on, living down here. Guys and girls doing fly in, fly out, they don't care. There's some businesses around here that do the airport run. So rather than, having to get your missus up in the middle of the night to pick you up, or, getting your mum to pick you up, you just book this company and they take you from door to the airport and, bring you back again. So that's what's happened to house prices here. And I mean, even the multi-million-dollar mansions are selling again now. And house prices have gone up through the roof. Government's also talking, a proposal has been put up to build a quarantine facility 16 kilometres out of Mandurah. And I'm not quite sure why. I never thought that hotel quarantine was a good idea, because we know what people are like. And they're saying that with the hotel quarantine, some of it might be from the air conditioning where, it's all recirculated and, that's how it might have spread. They're talking about basically building the equivalent of a mine camp where there's dongers that are separate so that people are separated. But it seems an awful lot of money to spend on something. What are they going to use it for later? And that's the bit that worries me. What are they going to do with that infrastructure later? What bright spark is going to come up with the most god-awful idea later? And I just don't trust that kind of thing. If we had a need for some sort of a camp, yeah, not a problem. And I mean, there's plenty of places where it would be more suitable. My opposition isn't that it's in my backyard. I think people being people, that they should, if it's going to be an issue, if they're worried about people walking out, you want it a bit further away than walking distance. 16 kilometres, I can walk that. And I'm not that fit, but I've walked it. I can walk 16 kilometres. And where they're talking about putting it, I reckon people would easily get a lift from somewhere and they wouldn't get caught. I reckon you could get out of there without being sprung. And again, my thing is, what are they going to do with it afterwards? You're not going to waste that infrastructure. I mean, we're talking a huge cost on building it. It's It's not really good. So, you know, it bothers me. Let's just say it bothers me. As I say, I've got a really vivid imagination. I can see them doing things with that they really shouldn't. So, I don't know. We'll see how we go. I'm just going to click some buttons here and see if I can get some more things done tonight. So I've been bullshitting for about half an hour now. So, yeah, I had a look at the news and I thought, it's not really promising, is it? I reckon we're going to hear more about the ANZ, what's really gone on there. I think there's something more to the story. I remember back when we had the GFC and they didn't report some of the things, and you found some stories, and one reporter covered it, and it ended up being in a really weird place because everybody else didn't cover the story, and I think it got pulled from the original online newspaper. And it was that Westpac and the National Australia Bank applied for and got a bailout loan from the American Federal Reserve. And the loans were only available to banks that were about to fall over. So they weren't loans that were available just to get cheaper money. The banks actually needed to be on the verge of collapse. And you sort of look at that and you think, and the National Australia Bank and Westpac got a loan through that. I must see if I can find that story. I have spoken about it on my blog, and I've still got all the blog posts. I just don't have the blog running now. But because of that, I always think, well, what's going on when I see a story come out like the ANZ story about, they foreshadowed that they were going to lose, almost $1 billion of profit. And then it's like, oh, it's because, this bank's dropped goodwill. And I'm there. I'm not quite sure how that works. I'm sure somebody who speaks doublespeak can explain it really well. I still won't understand it, but I'm sure that they can make sense of it. But I'm thinking there's more to the story. And it doesn't really worry me because even though I bank ANZ, I don't have my mortgage with them. So, but it is a worry. It is a worry, especially since customers have no protections, really. They say there's protections, but there's no protection from a bank when a bank decides to take you down. And people say, well, banks don't do that. Bullshit. Banks will take customers down. They can engineer defaults. If you're one of the people who thinks the banks can't do anything bad and, you're a shareholder and you make really nice money and, you quite like your bank, well, good on you for a start. But, one day it might be you. And, banks have taken out loyal customers who are now, not loyal to anybody, because once you've screwed over a loyal customer, they're not loyal to anyone. It's like very fickle after that because you don't trust anyone enough to be loyal. Why would you give anyone loyalty? And I think businesses today have really lost the edge because they no longer have loyal employees. They don't have loyal customers. No one cares. No one gives a shit. It's really sad. Really sad. I'm very disappointed with that. Oh, look, speaking of loyal employees, I'm now going to send these guys out. I might see if I can find an adventure. It's going to take a day. I can't even send them out. I do not have sausages to send them out. That's a bit sad. I'm going to have to find sausages. That's rough, isn't it? I probably shouldn't have had any wine before saying that sentence, because now I'm thinking, I know a few people that would really, put a silly connotation onto that one, which would not be good. No, it wouldn't be good. So what else do I need to talk about? I do need to talk about some stuff. It's it's very hard when you're not quite sure who's there, and I can't see any chat on this one, and I wasn't really having a good result with having the other ones in the background. Ooh. I can't even find them now. This is what happens to me. I'm just really bad. I'm not a very good person. Oh, look. That's all of yesterday's research. I'm not very good at this, This whole streaming thing, it's all quite weird. Yeah, because you're sitting in your normal room, and I must confess my office isn't that flash. And, you try to make intelligent conversation, and of course some days I'll get really triggered, like the banking stuff triggers me. It's, it really does. I try to steer clear of it, because remembering all of that stuff, it's just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Thinking about horrible. That is why I don't like doing it. Why did it play that? I didn't want to play that. It was me. Surely it should just have shown it to me. There you go. Exciting times. Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to stop it doing that. I've got so many things to learn. It is bullshit. It really is. And I'm so tired at the moment. I'm just exhausted. And I'm pretty sure I'm exhausted because I eat too much sugar, and, I do exercise every day. But obviously not enough. Still. Yeah, I'll probably have ranted enough about the banks. The way that the banking stories are portrayed in the news, I think they're missing a lot of details. And I think because they're all painting this wonderful picture, there's nothing wrong, I don't believe it. I simply don't believe it. I think I remember that so many stories have been swept under the carpet. The amount of times that I was told when I was doing my blogging that I was just this stupid woman because I thought that, because I reckon that the banks weren't honest, that, they were corrupt. It was like really weird what they would put on me. Like, I was blind and I was stupid because I tried to rip the bank off. And it's like, I know people do that, but that isn't what happened to us. And I know that the banks get ripped off by customers. You will never get an argument about that from me, because I used to have people contact me through the blog and they'd send me a message and they'd say, I've got this mortgage and I'd really like to pay it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop paying it, and then when the bank comes after me, I'm going to prove that it was a sus loan, and the court will give me the house for nothing. They'll take away the loan. And I mean, did I roll my eyes out loud? Hell yeah. It's like, you can't do that. That is not how it works. And I think they thought that that's what we'd done. That we thought that if we just stopped paying, there's bound to have been a problem, and the judge will just give us the house. And it's like, no. When you sign a contract, unless the bank did something dodgy at the time of signing the contract or in the lead up to the contract, I'm afraid you're kind of stuck and you have to pay it out. And I mean, we got screwed over despite having the evidence that there was a lot of dodgy stuff in our loan. And I mean, we were happy to renegotiate the loan and make it something manageable and pay off our fair share. But I don't think that we should have lost everything and literally had everything stolen from us. And if you haven't seen any of my other videos, we actually sued the bank for damages, and they settled out of court pretty much immediately. Didn't get a lot of money for it, but, it was, once we took everything into account, and what we took into account was we weren't going to have the stress of fighting the bank for another 3 to 7 years. It would have taken at least 7 years. I have since met someone who fought the bank for 30 years and finally had a win. That's a bit long for me. I'm not that patient. Took into account the money that we weren't going to have to spend on legal fees and a lawyer, because you don't get all of your fees back. Anybody who says, we can sue because all of our costs will be covered, no, not all of your costs are covered. There's a formula, and there's things that are simply not covered. And sometimes the things that aren't covered are more than what you're being paid if you win. And if you lose, you're totally screwed. So there's that. So we didn't have that. And then we also looked at the fact that it was still a 50-50 proposition. Even though we had all of the evidence, you don't always get the win because of what the other side puts forward. And sometimes, dare I say it, judges turn a blind eye and they twist themselves into hoops to give the bank a win. And I say that, with all due respect to the legal profession, but there's at least one that I know of that's being reheard now where, the trial judge, I read the judgment and even my eyes watered from, how painful it must have been to twist the facts that much to give the bank a win. It was horrendous. Not sure how that one's turned out if the bank's settling now, but I would have thought the bank would settle and just walk away. Mind you, lawyers for the banks are pretty arrogant too, and the bankers, they don't do themselves any favours with their arrogant, toe-cutting, mongrel bastard managers. Just a little bit triggered. Just a tiny little bit. I tell you. So we took all of that into consideration and settled. We could have had a better deal. We could have had a much, much better deal. We should have had a better deal. But my husband didn't want to do it, didn't want a bar of it. Something happened at the negotiation with the registrar, and my husband barred up, said he's not putting up with that. He's not having me deal with that level of nasty, horrid unprofessionalism. And if there's anybody in Western Australia watching this who has had dealings with registrars of the Supreme Court, I would bet that you know which registrar I'm talking about, because I've spoken to a fair few people and they all, if I say what happened without mentioning the registrar's name, they will give me the registrar's name because she does it all the time. Just, I don't think she knows that she's supposed to be kind of, she's supposed to be impartial. I don't think she gets that bit because she's not impartial. She's a nasty, horrible piece of work. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will get rid of her shortly, but I don't see it happening because no one reports her. I wanted to report her and they wouldn't let me. They said, you can't do that. And I'm there, and no one's reported her yet. And I think it's a problem with the legal profession. It's a club that if you're in it on the right side, and I can't imagine I'm in it on the right side, I'm pretty sure they only put up with me because, the alternative is worse. But there are dodgy things happening. And there are people who are saying we have to look into all players in the legal profession. And, we can't just have a couple of sacrificial lambs. We really have to get on top of it. But you kind of, at university, law students have it pounded into them about, legal professional responsibility. And the biggest one is the responsibility to other lawyers and the profession. And, it's like when I was a kid, if I was one of 5, so if I or any of us dobbed in one of us miscreants, they need, they pulled the cat's tail, whatever. The rule was the person dobbing got the same punishment as what the dobby got. And I could never understand that. And then as I got older, I realised that it was how Mum and Dad were living. And of course, they were in Germany growing up as kids during the Second World War. And this is at a time when neighbours were dobbing on neighbours and the neighbours died. It was a big deal. So if you're a kid being raised like that and your parents are whispering, saying, you can't say anything, don't say anything. And then, you make sure that there's a punishment for saying it because you never ever want your kid to dob in someone and that someone dies. And it took me so long to kind of really understand that. But yeah, that's how we were raised, to just not dob. And of course, the other side of that coin is that you're not dobbing in people that really are unprofessional, that are not doing the right thing by people. There's no justice. If it's the legal profession doing favours and, I'm not sure what the kickbacks would be. I don't know if there is a financial kickback or if it's just that, if you ever want a soft place to land, we'll give you a posse. I don't know. I don't know why they would do it. But if they're getting away with that and, people are denied justice because someone in a position of power is just ignoring the law and is ignoring everything and the other side wins because they know the right people, that's not right. You should be able to dob them in. And the legal profession has basically got this same thing that my mum and dad had going. If you dob someone in, you're going to cop it as bad. We're going to pull you up for unprofessional behaviour because, dobbing in a lawyer just isn't professional. And so, and I feel like a bit of I feel like I've sold my soul in a way because I stopped blogging about the bank. I stopped being involved. And then, of course, because I'm still unrestricted and I haven't got a supervisor, haven't got a job, so I can't act for people. So I'll talk to them, but I can't give them legal advice. So I have to say to them, look, I can talk to you. I can talk to you about what we went through, but I can't help you. I can try to help you in, what kind of things you need to talk to a lawyer about, but I can't do it for you. And it's kind of not why I bothered getting the degree. I mean, I got my degree so that I could help people. So, the law's a closed shop, and so how do you get it going? How do I fulfill all of my obligations and, I uphold all of the legal profession rules and I help people in my situation? It's something that I haven't been able to figure out yet. Just haven't got there. People get really annoyed with me because I will not give them any legal help because I can't do that. I don't have any insurance if they follow the wrong advice. I can help them put their paperwork together to give to a lawyer, but the lawyer has the final say on what happens. And people have a really hard time accepting that, understanding that that's the way it is, that's just how it is. So still negotiating all of that with how I'm going to deal with it. As I say, I'm not sure if because I haven't been able to get another job, but for about 9 months I didn't apply for any jobs because we were working towards, like me and another lawyer, were working towards getting our law firm up. And then something happened and I couldn't keep going with it. And then after that, after I told her that I couldn't do it, it was a month later, I had a really bad accident and I'm still recovering from that one. So it was probably a good thing that I didn't go into the business because, it's 10, 12-hour days and it would have put a real crimp on what I'm working on, the projects I'm doing, but I wanted to do it, and I'm now looking to see if I can start that up with another lawyer, because but only working the 8 hours a day, because I think anything else, I don't think you're doing a really good job if you work too long hours all the time. And I don't care what anybody says. It's just not a really good deal. Anyway, that's probably enough ranting for one day. You're probably bored with it if you are actually, listening to it. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to have a quiet weekend. And I will catch you